everyone. I hope you are having a happy Friday. Today we will finish interacting with informational text. We'll use a new tool I just found. We're going to be able to annotate a different way. Yesterday, a few times I've shown you how to highlight and then write something in there. Today, I'm going to show you how to annotate. And if you do this, you'll be able to annotate by drawing a little picture too. So you can use the text feature here, or you can actually draw, which is probably what I will do. So Chris and 7 other scientists took many boxes of equipment to Antarctica. They didn't have to bring everything, however. The scientists had special cold weather clothing and camping gear from the National Science Foundation, an agency that coordinates American research in Antarctica. They didn't have to pack food either. Chris and the other scientists went shopping at McMurdo Station supermarket, a big metal hut full of groceries. And I actually highlighted this earlier and made a little note that said, how random, because out there in the middle of nowhere with ice and snow and nothing else, there's McMurdo Station for groceries. After stuffing 2 helicopters with camping gear, equipment, food, and water, the scientists flew to the dry valleys. They landed atop a giant lump of sandstone called Battleship Promontory. It would be their home for the next 2 weeks. Little green men. See, now this is a time when I would want to annotate, maybe not necessarily by writing. Maybe I want to annotate by drawing a picture, and that's okay. So I might don't take too long, but I might want to annotate with a little drawing like this. Little green men. Maybe I've been watching too much Guardians of the Galaxy. Early on his first morning in the dry valleys, 6'6" Chris wormed his way out of his extra long sleeping bag. Sorry, I'm blocking the cursor. Ah. Okay, sorry about that. Early on his first morning in the dry valleys, 6'6" Chris wormed his way out of the extra long sleeping bag. There was plenty of light outside. The sun is up 24 hours a day during the Antarctic summer. However, the sun's rays didn't give off much warmth. Even during the summer, the dry valleys were as cold as Montana in winter. I saw a simile in there. Dry as and cold as Montana in the winter. Montana is a state here in the United States that is so freezing, way up north. So that is what that simile should be. Now, I'm going to erase this because I use the annotating tool with Zoom, and when you do that, it just freezes on the screen. It doesn't stay on the paragraph. So you will need to use a different program. If you find one, you're allowed to use it. Otherwise, you need to go ahead and stick with the highlighting and typing in the annotation. We can do a little bit more when you're on campus. We can draw pictures then. Okay. Chris dressed quickly and made his way through the scientist's tent camp. The chilly wind cut like a razor, even through down-filled clothing. So look at this, cut like a razor. What? It's so sharp. How does wind become sharp? This helps me to know, so I'm going to annotate here. This helps me to understand that this is just imagery. It's a simile to help the reader to understand it is so cold that it almost feels sharp. It's so cold it almost hurts. So I'm going to write that in there. So cold so cold that it hurts. Now, I don't like it cold. I like to be nice and warm. So I'm going to add in here, gross. You can say whatever you want. This is not an answer that you necessarily have to have or an opinion you necessarily have to have. This is all about interacting with the text because readers have different reactions and interactions with the text. This is just mine. I think being so cold and freezing that your skin hurts is terrible. Even through down-filled clothing. Paragraph 9. The camp was a little tent city. Maybe I will annotate right here and follow up with a question later because what does that mean? Maybe I'll just do 2 little symbols of question marks, or maybe I can write, what does this mean? Again, however you want to annotate, whatever works best for you is perfect. Look at the tent cities. I love it. There was a science tent, a kitchen tent, a toilet tent, and the suburb, the sleeping tents. Solar panels powered the kitchen tent. Oh, that's handy. Fondly nicknamed Cafe Battleship, Chris treated his companions to pancakes with canned cherries on top. If you were annotating, you might want to say, yum. Cleaning up was easy. The scientists just wiped everything with paper towels and let the dishes freeze. Nothing rotted or spoiled in the cold, dry air. Okay, now I'm probably going to say something like, no, that's what I'm talking about. That's how we clean up around here. That won't work here in Texas. So here it is. Here's the little tent city. Isn't that cute? I wonder which one is the restroom. This is the camp. Oh, sorry about that. Where'd you go? This is the camp on Battleship Promontory. At the end of the trip, helicopters flew out every piece of trash and human waste. Remember we read that yesterday? So gross. This is the view from Chris's tent. In 2005, there was more snow than usual. I'll say that's a lot of snow, isn't it? Chris has been making these camping trips to Antarctica for 25 years. He knows there are creatures hidden in the dry valleys that can survive some of the world's worst weather. Their secret? They live inside the rock. I would probably, if I could draw, I would probably even just draw a little, one of those emojis where the mind blown. Solid rock isn't always solid. Many rocks are honeycombed with little spaces or pores that seem like huge caverns to super small creatures called microbes. Hold it. Look, vocab word. Microbes, the smallest living thing. Smaller than small. From the Greek word micros. Hey, we're learning Greek words. Meaning small. And bios, meaning life. What do you know? It's handy to know about Greek roots and affixes, isn't it? Microbes, also called microorganisms, are the tiniest of all living things. They're so small, they can't even be seen without a microscope. After breakfast, Chris headed to the nearby sandstones. He examined the sandstone carefully. Chris spotted the little blotches on the rock. A colony, group of animals living in one place, from the Latin word colonus, meaning settler. Get it, like settlers? A colony of microbes was living in pores just under the surface. With a hammer and a chisel, he carefully chipped off a chunk of rock to take back to his lab at NASA. Wonder why. On previous visits, Chris had drilled tiny holes in the sandstone and attached sensors, devices that detect changes in light, moisture, or other physical conditions. Oh, that was a smart thing for him to take, wasn't it? The sensors measured the light and moisture inside the rocks year-round. Chris's sensors showed that the microbes hidden in the rocks survived on tidbits of summer sunlight and few drops of snow melt. Looking carefully, Chris also spied a wet spot on the rock. What? When that happens, there are microbes cheering. Yay, wet snow! Chris later explained. Now, are there really microbes, little microscopic things going, ah? No, obviously, this is more figurative language. Basically, Chris is trying to explain that the microbes can thrive and they grow better on that wet spot. They are living in little rock greenhouses. They wake up for a few days in the summer when the sun is shining and little moisture seeps down through the pores of the rock. They grow a little and then they go back to sleep for the rest of the year. Chris chipped off another rock sample. Just under the rock surface was a thin green line, a minute for, oh, sorry, you know what? Readers sometimes have to stop and think and look at the clues around a word and go, wait a minute, I should reread that. This word does say minute, but it might also be the word minute, meaning super small. And I already know as a reader, there's no such thing as a minute forest. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to try the word minute and see if that makes more sense. Ready? Here we go. Chris chipped off another rock sample. Just under the rock surface was a thin green line, a minute forest of microbes. Now that makes more sense. Cyanobacteria and fungi. These microbes were real survivors. If life exists on Mars, it might look something like that. Chris later explained, those little green critters are the best Martians we have. And everyone knows Martians are little and green, which might not be true. But look, isn't this interesting that we don't have proof of life on Mars yet, but if there is, it is most likely similar to the life that we find way out in Antarctica. A shelter of rock or dirt would be very important for any Martian life. Remember, Martian life is life on Mars. The atmosphere on Mars is too thin to block dangerous radiation from the sun. If any life exists on Mars, it would need to be shielded from solar radiation by rock or soil. But microbes hiding inside the rocks or underground aren't easy to find. So Chris used the dry valleys as a testing ground for microbe detection machines. Now we are starting to make an inference. Let's think about this. Chris is a what? What's he do for a living? He's an astrobiologist, right? Right? So he keeps going to Antarctica and testing everything and then saying things are very similar in Antarctica as they are on Mars. Now, we can probably make the inference that Chris is exploring Antarctica, not because he's super interested in Antarctica, but because as an astrobiologist, what might he be interested in doing? Researching possible similarities to life on Mars. So we could even highlight right here and add another annotation. That's what I'm going to do because I'm thinking I just made this connection. Maybe that's why he keeps going to Antarctica. Maybe it's to research possible similarities to Mars. All right. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, remember I said, I told you yesterday what text feature this is, informational text feature. When you take something like this in a bigger picture, and then the author kind of pulls it out or stretches it out and then puts it under a microscope almost. This is called an inset. So why did the author choose to put this inset in here? Let's read the caption and find out. A closer look at the small dark patches exposes cyanobacteria and fungi. Snowmelt reaches the microbes that are hidden inside the rock. So remember, it's those hidden away dark wet spots where these microbes are living. What is life? You think the answer is easy. Living things eat, or they take in energy and give off waste, right? But a car eats gasoline and gives off heat and exhaust gases. The car isn't alive. Let's add the ability to reproduce. The car can't make baby cars. No. That doesn't work either. A fire eats wood and oxygen and gives off heat, carbon dioxide, and smoke. It can reproduce too. A single spark can grow into a whole new fire. Let's add the ability to evolve. Fires can't do this. Fire is fire. But all species of living things, from bacteria to bean plants to bears, evolve. That means change over time. They adapt over time in response to changes in their environment. So now we have it. A living thing eats, gives off waste, reproduces, and evolves. Your science teacher will be so happy to know that you know this. Sorry, but there's one major glitch. Viruses. Viruses are very small, very simple microbes. They cause many human diseases, including AIDS and the common cold. Viruses take in energy, give off waste, and evolve. Flu viruses evolve so quickly that scientists must develop new flu vaccines every year to fight the latest version of the virus. But viruses can't reproduce by themselves. A virus must invade the cell of a living thing, such as a bacterium, plant, or animal, and hijack the cell's machinery to make more viruses. So, is a virus just a fancy bit of chemistry, or is it possibly for something to be alive? Scientists are still arguing over these questions. There's no easy answer. That's life. So why did the author add this little thing in here? Well, this isn't part of the story about Chris. Why did the author add, what is life, do you think? I think it was to support the message about the microbes that we were reading that Chris was discovering. Authors always add things to support, but they always add features to support the message that they're giving. Machines for Mars and beyond. The team brought a gas chromatograph. Oh, let's look at this word. Chromatograph. And a spectrometer and 4 types of ultraviolet lasers to test in the dry valleys. Each machine used a different technique for sensing hidden microbes. The gas chromatograph sensed gases given off by microbes. So their little chromatograph is peeking around trying to sense those tiny little microbes giving off gases. The spectrometer looked for the kind of light absorbed by microbes. The UV laser sensed the glow given off by microbes when the UV laser shone on them. Sorry, what do we have here? These are valleys on Mars. The average temperature on Mars is minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, minus like negative 80. But the temperature can reach 70 degrees Fahrenheit during the Martian summer. It's like Earth. At least that's what was supposed to happen, but the gas chromatograph didn't work at all, despite hours of tinkering. Of the 6 machines Chris and the other scientists brought to Antarctica, only 2, the spectrometer and 1 UV laser, were good at finding microbes. even recording test results was difficult. The ink froze in Chris's pen. Did you read that? Read that again. Chris was pleased that two machines worked. Science is all about testing new things and ideas. Sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. A spectrometer or UV laser may travel on a future NASA mission. The machines may land on a planet that, like the Dry Valley, seems too cold and too dry for life. Yet little green men might surprise us. Here they are setting up the spectrometer. Chris can't wait to find out. He's been wondering what's out there ever since he found a dusty old telescope and pointed it into the night sky. Interesting. He really is going to Antarctica to investigate Mars instead and see if he can find anything about Mars. Bug-eyed guys with flying saucers. I'm going to let you read this part. Hopefully you already did. If you didn't, I'm going to have you read this part. And then I'll read a little bit more for you, or you can hang up this, you can turn off this video if you want to read this by yourself. However, I will be looking for more annotations through the rest of this story today. It doesn't have to be every single paragraph, but every other paragraph would be good. And most importantly, that you annotate, that you give some kind of an interaction. Show me your thoughts. What are you thinking about? What comes to mind when you read something? When something really, when you notice something and it really comes to mind. Kind of like when I stopped and said, whoa, mind blown. That is what I'm looking for your annotations today. You should have one about every other paragraph, and then definitely when something stands out at you. I'm going to finish reading in a different, in an optional video. So I'll go ahead and stop here actually. And if you want to join me for the rest of this, you can watch the optional video. And if not, you can get started on your own. I hope you have a fabulous Friday.